All right, boys and girls, for your mosaic today, you're going to start by creating the flower vase. And we're going to be adding many different types of patterns using different colorful squares. What you're going to start with is your orange tracer and your white paper. Your yellow tracer and your white paper. And you're going to trace your vase. So you need a pencil for this. And you're going to place your yellow tracer in the middle, using your hand to hold it down. And then use your pencil to trace along each of the outlines of the vase, pressing your pencil up against the tracer until you finish all four sides of the vase. Once you finish that, you're going to use your scissors now to cut the vase out. So go slow so that you make sure you cut along the lines the whole way. All right, once I've cut out my whole vase, I have some scraps here. So I'm going to walk these scraps to the recycle bin, and then I just am going to use my vase here next. Now inside of your basket, you can put your tracer away. You have little tiny squares to create some patterns. So just start with 2 colors at a time to create your pattern. We're going to use our glue bottles today to glue down our squares. Make sure you twist open your orange part to make sure there's a little space there. And shake, shake, shake with the orange part down and squeeze. You should only need 1 dot of glue when you glue down your patterns. So I'm going to start with my first box. And notice how I just put 1 little baby dot of glue. And I'm going to start with my first pattern, orange, yellow, orange, yellow. So I'm going to place my first orange square right at the top of my vase, right on the top there, so I can put my pattern in a line. And then the next dot will go right next door to the orange one, and I'm going to place the yellow. Notice how I'm placing my squares right next to each other. There's no spaces in between. They're in a nice straight line. They're not crooked like this. They're nice and square, straight next to each other. So I'm gonna keep going until I finish this whole pattern, yellow, orange, yellow, orange, yellow, orange, with only 1 dot of glue. And I should have room for 1 more yellow. All right, that pattern is finished. I'm going to keep going down the line until I finished many patterns. You might notice on the back, some of your patterns stick off. When you finish all your patterns, you can take your scissors and you can just kind of trim the back so that you have a nice clean line of the vase. You can still see the shape of the vase. Okay, so I'm going to show you what my vase looks like when it's finished. So I finished all my patterns here. I should go all the way down, nice straight lines. All the patterns meet each other. So if you finished all of that, you're now going to take your big white paper and you're going to glue your vase to the bottom. Since this is a very large shape, we're going to use our glue bottle to put some dots of glue all the way on the outline. That means the outside of the vase. I don't need to put any glue in the middle of the vase, just the outside. Then I flip my shape over and I press it down on the bottom of the paper. This is very important to put it on the bottom because we need some space to draw our flowers next. So you can stop here for the day today and then make sure you put your name on the bottom. All right, so next step here, we're going to use our marker to draw some flowers. You need to use your Sharpie marker today to draw, and inside of your basket you should find some flower worksheets. You can take one of these at a time to start. Your goal today is to draw at least 8 flowers. So I'm going to start with the stems first. From the vase, I'm going to draw 8 lines. They can be curvy, they can be short, they can be straight, doesn't matter as long as I have 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. Now from the stems, I'm going to draw some flower tops. These worksheets will help you see how to draw some of the flowers. Some of them tell you step 1, step 2, step 3. And then some of them are just pictures of flowers. So you can look at the steps or you can look at the pictures. So I'm going to start with this one. This one tells me to start with a circle and then to start to add some little petals. Those are little ovals. And every time I draw, I'm going to use my marker. And I can change the flower a bit if I want to change it from here, or I can keep it how it looks there. It looks like they're adding some leaves, so I might want to add some leaves to the outside of the flower. Just little tiny ovals on the side here. And then I can do a new flower. So the next one, I think I want to try, maybe I'll just look at a picture this time and draw one of these. These are really kind of floppy stems and floppy leaves. So I'm going to start with the circle middle, and I can do a little stem coming out of the top of the flower. And I'm going to do some kind of weird looking petals, really organic. That means different sizes and shapes. I can try something called overlapping too. That means putting a petal behind another petal, behind, and overlap some petals. That makes your flower look even bigger and bigger when you start to overlap the petals a little bit. I can even put some leaves on this one, some different sizes of leaves. Okay, I'm going to keep going until I finish all my flowers. I can look at the steps again, or I can just draw some of my own. I'm going to try some overlapping again on this one. Sometimes leaves have little lines in them, sometimes they don't. So I'm going to add a couple lines to the leaves on the inside. And I have three more flowers to finish actually. So I think for my next flower, I'll look at a picture again. Maybe I'll draw a really big circle for this flower and little leaves. And maybe this flower doesn't have any stems. Maybe it has just little spikes. Maybe I can try another one of these flowers. Maybe this one has bigger leaves with some lines. All right, one more flower. I think I'll look at the pictures again to try and find a flower that I like. This is kind of an interesting looking flower. This one has kind of a weird looking inside part to it. All right, so I finished all my flowers. So now my last step for the day today is paint the background and color the flowers. So we're going to use oil pastels to color our flowers today. You have warm colors and cool colors. That means red, orange, yellow, and pink, and then blue, greens, and purples in this one. So I can take any of the colors that I like and start coloring my flowers. I want to make sure I'm being really careful when I color these flowers, making sure I stay inside of the lines each time. Oil pastels are really slick. They're kind of like crayons. And so I have to press kind of hard to make sure I cover up all those little white spaces. I can't press too light. I have to press really hard with these oil pastels. And then maybe I'll change up my colors for the next one, maybe a purple flower. On the inside of your flowers, you can add some yellow spots. A lot of flowers have yellow centers of them. I think I'm going to add a yellow center to most of my flowers. And then the leaves and the stems, I'm just going to make a green line coming down on all the stems and all the leaves I can color in green. Maybe I can even use dark green and light green. I can change up my leaves to be dark green. I have a little bit more work to do still, making sure each of these flowers is colored in nice and neat. You might notice a little bit of smudgy oil pastel. That's okay. We're going to paint over that anyway with the background, so don't worry about that. You might want to leave some of your flowers white too. Sometimes flowers like, sometimes dandelions are white, daisies are white, so I'm going to leave that one with the white petals, just one though. And then I'm going to finish this off by making this one bright pink. And this one is going to be an orange flower. This is a tropical flower. It's called a hibiscus flower. All right, I finished coloring all my flowers. So my last step today is to paint the background. So the first thing I'm gonna do before I paint the background, I'm gonna make something called a ground line. A ground line is where my vase is going to be sitting. Maybe I'm imagining it sitting on a table. So a ground line goes at the edge of my paper and it goes until it hits my object and it hops over my object and it goes to the edge. So I'm imagining that this vase is sitting kind of on this table and this is the wall behind. So I can start to paint this now. I'm going to carefully paint the wall one color and the bottom one color. So different colors for each. So we're going to use our watercolor paint today. Now when we use our watercolor paint, we have to make sure this paint is not wet yet. We have to add water to it. So using my brush, I'm just going to take a little bit of water and dip it in the color that I want to use and swish it around. I think I'm going to make my table brown. Maybe I'll make my table red actually. I'm going to make my table red. So using my red, I'm just going to carefully go around my vase and then start to paint the ground. I want to make sure I'm going nice and smooth, getting all those white spaces. And notice how I outlined the vase first. I went around the vase and then I painted around. Okay, now my floor is done, or my table is done. I'm going to think about what color to paint the wall behind. So I think I'm going to use yellow for that. So I'm going to swish in my yellow, make it work. And now I'm going to use the yellow to go around and paint the wall. Now when I paint the wall, boys and girls, I want to make sure I go kind of around my flowers. It's okay if I get a little paint on the flowers. We used oil pastels for this, so oil pastels don't get covered up by water paint very easily. They kind of go in their own spaces, which is nice. This is called wax resist. They go in their own spaces. They don't like to mix with each other. So I'll try my best to go around the flowers and continue painting the whole painting here. When I finish my painting, there should be no white spaces in my whole picture. I have made sure to paint the whole wall, the whole floor, and all my flowers are colored. So I'm going to keep going with my project and pause the video so that we can start working. You can see I've got a little bit more work to do still.